you have no one, that's when you rise. In solitude, the spirit finds strength. Carl Jung reminds us that the most powerful transformations often happen when we stand alone, when there's no applause, no validation, no one to witness the battles we fight in silence. In those quiet moments, a different kind of power awakens within us, the kind that builds resilience, self-trust, and unstoppable inner growth. As you watch today's video, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt like the world was silent while you were working so hard to rise? Share your experience in the comments below. And if you're ready to discover how isolation can become the birthplace of your greatest evolution, welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. Let's rise together. 1. Solitude is the start of transformation. Solitude is the beginning of a powerful transformation, because when everything around you becomes quiet, your soul begins to speak. Feeling alone, unseen, and disconnected does not mean you have failed. It means your spirit is separating from an outdated version of you that can no longer contain your potential. Loneliness becomes a silent teacher, pushing you to strengthen your foundation from within. When there is no applause, you learn to celebrate your own growth. When no one believes in you, spirituality teaches you to believe in yourself. When no one stands with you, you learn to stand with your truth. This is where spiritual awakening begins, not in comfort, but in the quiet battles that no one else sees. There are seasons when every person who once stood beside you suddenly disappears, and it feels like a punishment. But Carl Jung reminds us that every rebirth begins with dissolution. The universe removes the people who were attached to your old identity so you can evolve without being pulled backward. The silence you face today is not abandonment, it is elevation. Not everyone is meant to breathe at the altitude your soul is rising to, and the loneliness you feel now is building emotional strength, mental clarity, and an unshakable identity that does not rely on approval. This is where the old layers fall away. This is where your heart begins to glow from the inside out. This is where you remember who you are. In this sacred isolation, you begin to discover the person you have been searching for, the one who protects you, guides you, and truly understands you yourself. You realize that depending on others for validation was only weakening your light. Now, your power becomes self-generated, no longer borrowed from temporary relationships. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces not worthy of your presence. You stop hoping others will love the version of you they never cared to understand. Instead, you rise with calm confidence, knowing your worth does not change just because others failed to see it. As Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And you, right now, are awakening. You are transforming. You are rising into the life your soul has always been preparing you for. So when the world grows silent, when support fades, when love disappears, and when every familiar hand lets go, this is not the end. This is your becoming. The loneliness shaping you today will be the reason you lead others tomorrow. You are not alone because you are forgotten. You are alone because you are evolving into someone rare, someone resilient, someone chosen. Solitude is not emptiness. It is the birthplace of your strength. Keep going. The strongest version of you is now being formed in the quiet. Are you ready to rise even when you stand alone? If this message speaks to your soul, comment below. I rise from solitude to claim your transformation. 2. Emotional independence replaces emotional dependence. When you stop expecting others to fix what hurts inside you, everything changes. Emotional independence replaces emotional dependence the moment you decide you will no longer look for someone else to fill the emptiness in your chest. You begin to understand that true growth starts when you can calm your own heart, wipe your own tears, and accept your own feelings without begging for reassurance. Instead of waiting for someone to validate you, you learn to validate yourself. Instead of searching for external love to feel whole, you choose to love yourself from within. This is where spirituality takes root, when your happiness is no longer controlled by who stays or who leaves. You unlock a new stage of spiritual development that can never be taken away from you. You see, every time someone ignored your pain, every time you felt invisible, every time you whispered to yourself that you were not enough, those moments were not failures. They were invitations. They pushed you toward discovering the strength you did not know you had. Because when you have no one clapping for you, you learn how to clap for yourself. When no one comforts you, you become the comfort. When no one believes in you, you become your own proof. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That is exactly what emotional independence teaches you, that your worth does not shrink just because someone else could not see it. And here's the truth you must carry with you. The right people will come into your life, not because you desperately chase them, but because your energy will rise so high that they cannot help but find you. The loneliness you feel is not a punishment. It is a sacred transition. It is the universe removing distractions so you can finally hear your own voice. In this silence, your spirit wakes up. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-giving. You stop trying to be loved into existence. You start choosing peace over approval, truth over acceptance, and growth over comfort. That is when you rise. So give yourself permission to outgrow the version of you that depended on others to feel alive. You are stronger than your heartbreak. You are bigger than your fears. You are wiser because of every person who walked away. And now, you are learning the most important lesson of your spiritual journey. You do not need someone to complete you. You need someone who complements the wholeness you have already built. Stand tall inside your own soul. Respect your own emotions. Stop waiting for anyone else to define your value. The moment you become emotionally independent, you become unstoppable because the power was always yours. If you're ready to rise stronger from within, declare it in the comments. I rely on my inner strength. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss more spiritual wisdom on this powerful journey. 3. Stop complaining and take responsibility. When you feel the world turning cold and silent around you, when support disappears and you are left alone with your thoughts, this is not the universe abandoning you. This is the universe awakening you. Complaining might feel like a release, but every complaint keeps you chained to victimhood, locked in a story where life is happening to you instead of for you. The moment you shift from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What can I build from this?" you step into a new level of spiritual wisdom that Carl Jung often spoke about: the power to transform pain into progress, chaos into clarity, and loneliness into leadership. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And that is the turning point. Choosing responsibility does not mean you caused the pain. It means you refuse to let the pain decide your future. When people stop supporting you, when encouragement disappears, when no one sees your effort, that silence is molding you into someone who doesn't rise because they are seen, but because they are called. You are being trained to no longer depend on applause or validation. The world won't always cheer for your growth, but your soul will, and that must be enough. Complaining tells the universe, I am powerless. Taking responsibility tells the universe, watch what I become. Every challenge you are facing right now is shaping you into someone unshakable. Diamonds are born under pressure. Stars shine brightest in the darkest sky. Seeds break in the darkness beneath the soil before they rise toward the sun. You, too, are breaking open not to be destroyed, but to be reborn. When you stop complaining, you stop giving power to what hurts you. You stop replaying the same painful story and start writing a new one. You take the raw material of your struggle and build resilience, courage, and wisdom that cannot be taken from you. That is what Carl Jung meant when he said, there is no birth of consciousness without pain. Awakening begins the moment you realize your suffering is not a dead end, it is a doorway. Responsibility is not a burden, it is your liberation. It is you saying, life can knock me down, but I decide whether I stay there. The world may walk away, but that is exactly when you walk closer to your true identity. Silence becomes your teacher. Solitude becomes your training ground. Pain becomes your power source. So the next time your heart whispers, why me? Answer it with, because I am strong enough to rise. You do not grow when others carry you. You grow when you carry yourself. And when no one believes in you, that is when you must believe in yourself the loudest. Leave a like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful guidance like this. And if you're ready to rise by taking responsibility for your life, type in the comments, I choose accountability and growth. 4. Become your own source of validation. There are moments in life when the silence around you becomes almost deafening. The people you once counted on to notice your growth disappear, and suddenly, every step you take goes unseen. That is when spirituality reveals one of its greatest lessons. You must become your own source of validation. Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and this path of becoming is often walked alone. When there is no applause, when the voices of approval go quiet, you are forced to discover the voice within the one that guides you not toward recognition, but toward your truth. This is where real maturity begins, because maturity means acting for your values, even when no one praises you for them. You are like a seed planted deep beneath the soil. No one witnesses the struggle, the pressure, the darkness, the cracking open. But without that hidden battle, the seed would never develop roots strong enough to push upward into the light. That is how spiritual awakening works. Isolation is not punishment, but preparation. The universe removes the audience so you can learn who you are without their validation. It is in the quiet hours when no one sees your effort that your character is forged. You learn to show up for yourself, to honor the promises you made to your future, not because the world is watching, but because you are. Carl Jung also said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. When relationships fade, When encouragement stops, when recognition disappears, it hurts, but that pain is awakening you to deeper truths. Your worth is not measured by applause, and your purpose does not require witnesses. The absence of others teaches you independence of spirit. You begin to understand that support is a gift, not a requirement. You start to trust your intuition more than the opinions around you. You learn that validation from others can disappear, but validation from within can sustain you for a lifetime. Every time you choose to keep going in silence, you build spiritual strength that cannot be shaken later. When you continue working on your dream despite being overlooked, you become driven by mission instead of approval. And that is unstoppable. One day, those same people who didn't notice your effort will be astonished by your results. They will call you fortunate, unaware of the countless silent battles that shaped who you are. They won't see the nights you stayed committed, the tears you wiped alone, the weight you carried in your heart while still pushing forward. So if life has placed you in a season where you feel like you have no one, understand this: you are being positioned for transformation. You are being trained to believe in yourself the way you always hoped others would. You are being guided to recognize your own power, your own inner voice, your own divine light. That is spiritual wisdom, and that is the moment your spirit rises higher than ever before. Because when you no longer need anyone to choose you, support you, or validate you, that is when you become truly powerful. And that is when you rise. 5. Turn failure into fuel. Falling never destroys you. It simply reveals the parts of your soul that are still waiting to be healed. And when you rise from failure without anyone beside you, you begin stepping into a deeper level of spirituality and spiritual development, where your strength is no longer borrowed from external praise, but grown from the truth within yourself. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And every moment you choose to rise is a declaration of who you are becoming: stronger, wiser, more resilient, and more conscious of the power that lives inside you. When life refuses to give you applause, validation, or comfort, see it as a divine invitation to meet the strongest version of yourself. Because if everyone caught you every time you fell, you would never learn how powerful your legs truly are. So when you fall, do not rush to hide the broken pieces. Study them, understand them, and use them as building blocks for your transformation. Because failure is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation of it. Every time you rise alone, you sharpen your character and expand your capacity to handle the weight of your highest destiny. And even though the process feels lonely, that loneliness is sacred. It pushes you inward, where you finally discover the voice of your own spirit saying, "You can endure, you can overcome, you can rise again." Challenges are not punishment. They are preparation, shaping you into someone who will no longer crumble under pressure or fear judgment from others. And each setback forces you to ask deeper questions, connect to your true purpose, and step into a higher state of awareness. When you shift your perspective from seeing failure as a dead end to recognizing it as a divine turning point, you begin to turn every disappointment into discipline and every fall into fuel that propels you even farther than before. People may leave when you stumble, but their absence is not a loss. It is a filter. removing those who were only meant to witness your comfort, not your greatness. The silence you face after failure is not emptiness. It is space being cleared so you can rebuild with clarity, strength, and authenticity. You grow into someone who no longer begs for support, but attracts it naturally because your confidence radiates from a place of truth and lived experience. You become someone who has walked through fire and emerged glowing, someone whose soul cannot be shaken because it has already survived what was meant to break it. So trust this season, trust the fall, trust the alone phases of your life. Every tear, every setback, every night you stay awake questioning whether you can keep going is forging a more powerful version of you, one who no longer fears falling, but understands that falling is just part of rising. Failure is fuel in disguise, and you are learning to burn brighter every time the world tries to dim your light. Do you believe that every failure can become fuel for your rise? If you do, declare it boldly in the comments. I turn failure into power. 6. Discipline over mood. Discipline over mood means choosing to act based on who you want to become, rather than how you feel in the moment. Because real growth is not born from excitement or perfect circumstances, but from the days when you show up, even when your heart feels heavy and your mind wants to rest. This is where spiritual wisdom becomes your anchor. For motivation is temporary and unreliable, but discipline is the force that separates people who wish from those who rise. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Reminding you that every choice you make in silence, every step taken without applause, is molding your future self. When you stop waiting to feel ready and instead choose consistency, you claim responsibility for your destiny, and that commitment is what turns an ordinary person into someone unstoppable. You must understand that mastery is never built on good moods. It is sculpted through repetition, through focus, through the willingness to do the hard things, especially when your emotions are resisting. On the days you feel alone and forgotten, spiritual wisdom teaches that your soul is quietly preparing you for a powerful transformation, because Jung believed solitude is the birthplace of inner strength, where the ego dissolves and the true self emerges. So when no one praises your efforts or recognizes your progress, that is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are being forged, strengthened, and sharpened in the unseen. Each act of discipline casts a vote for the person you aspire to be, and over time, those small votes accumulate until one day you look back and realize you have become the kind of person who no longer waits for motivation at all. Discipline is a deep expression of self-respect, a declaration that your purpose matters more than your excuses, more than your momentary feelings. Every time you honor your commitments, you strengthen trust in yourself, and that trust becomes confidence, and that confidence becomes power. Think of every successful person you admire. They rose because they showed up when comfort told them to stop. They practiced when no one noticed, improved when no one applauded, and stayed loyal to their growth when the world stayed silent. You must do the same, because your future depends on it. Jung taught that what you resist not only persists, but grows, meaning that if you keep avoiding the work, your fear and doubt will only gain more control. But when you discipline your mind to move forward, even in discomfort, you reclaim authority over your life. Your feelings may fluctuate, but your purpose must remain steady. Your emotions may shout, "Quit," but your spirit must whisper, "Keep going." Discipline over mood is the secret to rising when no one believes in you. Because one day, the world will witness the success you built quietly in the dark, and they will call you lucky without ever knowing it was your discipline that made you powerful. If you find this content touching your heart, please consider becoming a member to receive more in-depth lessons and direct support from me. 7. Stop needing others to understand you. Stop needing others to understand you, because the truth is that your journey is sacred and uniquely designed for your soul's evolution. No one else has lived your memories, carried your pain, or dreamt the visions planted deep inside your heart. So it is impossible for others to fully grasp the depths of what you are becoming. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege does not require permission or validation from anyone outside of you. When you begin to detach from the desire for others to accept you or agree with your choices, you open the door to a powerful spiritual awakening where your inner voice becomes your greatest guide. You start to realize that every answer you have been searching for was always waiting within you, quietly whispering beneath the noise of people's opinions and the world's expectations. It takes extraordinary courage to walk through life without applause, to move forward when no one is cheering, and to continue choosing growth even when others cannot see the reason for your actions. But that is what makes you different. That is what makes you strong. Most people never find themselves because they are too busy trying to be understood. You are not here to be understood. You are here to rise. And rising requires a certain level of solitude because not everyone is meant to join you on your highest path. Some people cannot comprehend your evolution simply because they are not evolving with you. Some people cannot see your vision because they were not given the eyes to recognize it. So instead of shrinking yourself so others feel comfortable, you must allow yourself to expand even if others become uncomfortable. It might hurt when people misjudge you, distance themselves from you, or question your motives. But remember this: misunderstanding is often a sign that you are stepping into a higher version of yourself. You are breaking out of the identity they once knew, and the unfamiliar always makes others uneasy. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. Let them talk. Their lack of understanding does not change your calling. What you are building is too sacred to be explained to small minds, and your transformation is too miraculous to be measured by shallow perceptions. The universe did not choose them. It chose you. And chosen souls are shaped through isolation, strengthened through adversity, and awakened through moments when they must walk alone. The more you trust yourself, the clearer your path becomes. The more you listen inward, the less noise exists outward. Your soul becomes your compass. Your intuition becomes your wisdom, and your silence becomes your teacher. Slowly, you step out of the need to prove yourself, and you enter the freedom of being yourself. You no longer rise to be seen. You rise because rising is your nature. And even if no one understands it, your heart understands it. God understands it. Your future understands it. So keep moving forward. Keep listening inward. Keep honoring the sacred truth that everything you need is already within you. because the moment you stop seeking external understanding is the moment you finally step into your true power. The power of a soul that knows exactly who it is and where it is meant to go. In the moments when the world feels silent and support seems nowhere to be found, remember this truth. Solitude is not a punishment. It is preparation. It is in the quiet, unseen battles that your inner strength is forged. Your purpose becomes clearer, and your soul rises into the power it was destined to claim. You are not behind. You are becoming. If this message resonates with you, let your journey be seen like this video. Share it with someone who might need this reminder, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to activate the notification bell so you never miss the powerful insights we have coming your way. Keep rising, even when no one is watching. Carl Jung's chilling truth: how to recognize fake friends before it's too late. Fake friends are like shadows. They follow you in the sun, but leave you in the dark. This timeless truth reminds us how essential it is to see beyond appearances and protect our peace. In today's world, where masks often replace authenticity, Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches us to recognize the subtle signs of manipulation and emotional deceit before it's too late. As you watch this video, I invite you to reflect. Have you ever felt drained or uneasy around someone who claimed to care? Share your experience in the comments, because awareness is the first step toward freedom and spiritual awakening. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where we uncover the psychology of truth, transformation, and genuine connection. 1. The hidden threat: fake friends over enemies. The real danger in life rarely comes from visible enemies. It comes from the people who pretend to be your allies. They wear smiles that hide envy, speak words that sound like support, but carry the vibration of jealousy. These are the ones who celebrate your rise until your success starts to make them feel small. As Carl Jung once said, "He who causes another to become powerful ruins himself." The false friend doesn't want to see you truly awake. They want you to stay manageable, predictable, and slightly below them. This is why spiritual awakening demands spiritual wisdom: the courage to discern energy beyond appearances, to feel the vibration behind a compliment, and to see who claps only when you're struggling, not when you're soaring. Fake friends reveal themselves not through grand betrayals, but through subtle inconsistencies. When you fail, they are sympathetic. When you win, they grow distant. They gossip under the disguise of concern. They flatter to gain access, and they mirror your dreams only until your light threatens to outshine theirs. Pay attention to how they react to your boundaries, because saying no is the sacred test of any connection. A true friend honors your limits as a sign of self-respect. A false friend twists them into accusations, saying you've changed or become selfish. They can't stand your autonomy because your independence exposes their hidden control. In the realm of spirituality, this is the clash between awakened consciousness and unconscious attachment. You'll also recognize them in their hunger for confusion. They create triangles, whispers, secrets, and private alliances that pull you into emotional politics. They thrive in half-truths because where there is confusion, there is control. When you seek clarity, they accuse you of overreacting. When you speak truth, they call you dramatic. They feed off your emotional energy, leaving you drained, anxious, or uncertain after every interaction. True friends refill your energy. False ones drain it. This difference is not emotional imagination. It is an energetic fact. Every soul you meet leaves an imprint, and your intuition is your spiritual immune system. As you continue your spiritual awakening, the contrast becomes sharper. When you grow, the false friend complains that you've changed. But change is the very proof of life. Spirituality transforms, and transformation threatens those who cling to the old version of you that made them feel superior. They will minimize your insights, mock your new peace, and project their unhealed wounds onto your path. Jung taught that what we reject in ourselves, we project onto others. So their resentment is often an unconscious confession they are envious of your courage to heal. Your evolution exposes their stagnation. To protect your peace, practice sacred discernment. Slowing down the speed of intimacy, true trust grows through consistency, not chemistry. Test every relationship with small boundaries and observe the reaction. Real connection expands under truth. False connection collapses under it. Watch not what people say, but what they repeat. Patterns are the footprints of the soul. Never let charm substitute for history. When gossip arrives, bring it into light. Say, "Let's talk together," and you'll quickly see who thrives in transparency and who depends on shadows. Most importantly, guard your joy. Never feel guilty for shining. Joy is a spiritual frequency that exposes envy. Those who can't stand your happiness were never aligned with your spirit. Protect your light, not by hardening your heart, but by mastering your boundaries. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. You can bless people from afar without letting them feed off your energy. Compassion without wisdom leads to self-betrayal. Wisdom without compassion turns to bitterness. Balance both, and you walk in true spiritual power. Your life is a sacred garden. Real friendship is the seed that roots deep and survives every season. Fake friendship is the weed that climbs fast, blooms beautifully, then suffocates the soil. So prune without guilt. The right people won't ask you to dim your light. They'll shine beside you. Because when two awakened souls meet, there is no competition, only reflection of divine energy. That is the essence of spiritual wisdom. To love deeply, see clearly, and choose consciously who deserves a place in your sacred space. Do you see the truth in this? Comment below with conviction. I choose real souls over fake friends. 2. The Carl Jung view of loyalty. Loyalty isn't moral, it's transactional. People follow power because they benefit from it, not because they believe in you. When their gain disappears, so does their loyalty. Trust should be based on consistent proof, not promises. This truth, seen through Carl Jung's lens, reveals a profound insight into human nature and spirituality. It reminds us that many relationships exist not from genuine connection, but from hidden motives tied to personal gain. In spirituality and spiritual growth, we are asked to awaken to this reality, not to become bitter, but to become wise. Jung often taught that the human psyche wears many masks. What you see is rarely the whole story. Fake friends thrive behind such masks, feeding on energy, opportunity, or influence while pretending to care. Their loyalty is conditional, their affection calculated. You will notice that when your life flourishes, they orbit around your light. Yet when you fall into silence or struggle, they vanish into shadows. The moment you stop providing what benefits them, whether it's validation, status, or emotional comfort, their loyalty evaporates like smoke. Real spirituality demands that we discern energy, not words. Loyalty built on advantage is fragile, but loyalty built on truth endures. Carl Jung believed that people are drawn to symbols of power because those symbols reflect their unhealed desires. A fake friend does not follow your soul. They follow your strength because it gives them a sense of borrowed importance. They celebrate your wins only when those wins don't outshine them. They speak of support, but secretly compete. This is why Jung said, we must not project our values onto others. We must observe them. Watch how someone behaves when you have nothing to offer. Do they still listen when you are quiet? Do they still respect your boundaries when you stop accommodating their expectations? The spiritual path invites you to look beyond appearances, to see loyalty as a mirror reflecting integrity rather than emotion. Spiritual growth means accepting that not everyone who smiles at you stands with you. Many admire the light, but few can handle the heat that comes with it. When you begin to grow, awaken, or step into your power, those who are attached to your smaller self may feel threatened by your evolution. They may call you distant, arrogant, or changed, not realizing that your soul is simply outgrowing the vibration of dependency and deceit. Jung's wisdom teaches us that every relationship mirrors a lesson. Fake friends remind you to trust your intuition more deeply and to rely on proof rather than promises. They test your ability to see through illusion and to detach without resentment. In doing so, you reclaim your energy and rise to a higher state of awareness. Loyalty, then, becomes less about attachment and more about alignment. Those who are meant for you will not need constant proof of your worth. They will recognize your spirit because it resonates with theirs. Their presence will feel peaceful, not performative. True loyalty supports your spiritual growth even when it challenges comfort. It remains steady through change and honest through silence. The deeper message of Jung's insight is that relationships built on spiritual integrity do not depend on what you can give. They depend on who you are when everything external fades. So observe who claps when you win and who stays when you lose. Build trust on actions that repeat, not on words that echo. Let your spirituality teach you that loyalty, without sincerity, is just strategy disguised as care. In the end, you are not here to be liked. You are here to live in truth. And truth, in its quiet power, always reveals who truly walks beside you. Remember, loyalty isn't measured by words, but by consistent actions that align with truth. As Carl Jung taught, real friends stand firm even when your light exposes their shadows. Are you ready to recognize who's truly loyal to your soul's journey? Comment below. I'm ready to see the truth. 3. Signs of fake friendship. Fake friends are masters of disguise. They appear supportive on the surface, yet their intentions often run deep beneath false smiles and convenient words. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom helps us see beyond the illusion, to recognize the subtle energy shifts that expose who is truly aligned with our growth and who is merely pretending. One of the first signs is overflattery, excessive, insincere praise that feels good but serves a hidden purpose. They flatter you not out of admiration, but to lower your guard, to make you dependent on their validation. They study your insecurities and use your desire to be seen as a way to influence you. A genuine friend will tell you the truth even when it stings, but a fake one will tell you what you want to hear just to keep control. As Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you awaken spiritually, you start to notice that not every compliment comes from love. Some come from strategy. Then comes the illusion of vague support. These are the people who show up when life is bright, but disappear the moment darkness falls. They are quick to celebrate your victories, but nowhere to be found when you're struggling. When things go wrong, their silence becomes deafening. This absence exposes their truth. They were never there for your soul, only for your spotlight. In moments of crisis, true loyalty doesn't need to be asked. It reveals itself naturally. Spiritual awakening sharpens your awareness, allowing you to see who stands beside you when there's nothing left to gain. Another clear sign is passive sabotage. Those subtle words disguised as concern that slowly corrode your confidence. Fake friends will plant doubts in your mind while pretending to care. They'll say, "I just don't want you to get disappointed," or "I'm only saying this because I care." But their tone hides envy, not empathy. Their energy drips with comparison, and their advice often steers you away from your purpose. Jung taught that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, and that truth applies here too. Their jealousy reflects their unhealed wounds, and their criticism is often a mirror of their own limitations. The most chilling sign, however, is shifting energy. Pay attention to how they act when you succeed. Do they celebrate you with genuine joy, or do their smiles fade when you shine? You can feel the sudden distance, the awkward silence, the subtle tension when your life begins to move forward. Their energy changes because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your light unconsciously threatens their comfort. In moments like this, Carl Jung's insight becomes clear. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Fake friends can't handle your evolution because it forces them to confront the parts of themselves they've ignored. That's why true spiritual wisdom teaches us to watch patterns, not promises. Words can deceive, but energy cannot. Consistency is the real language of loyalty. When someone's energy constantly shifts, when their support feels conditional, when their presence depends on what you can offer, that is your warning sign. Protect your peace by listening to the unspoken. The goal isn't to judge others, but to discern who truly matches your frequency. You don't need to chase love that feels heavy or defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Observe their actions. Trust what your spirit feels. And remember that discernment is the highest form of self-respect. In the end, fake loyalty always reveals itself, not through words, but through changing behavior. If this message speaks to your soul, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Your journey towards spiritual wisdom and learning to recognize real from fake continues with every lesson. 4. Power through observation, not emotion. A true master of spirituality and spiritual awakening never reacts from emotion, but from awareness. Carl Jung taught that power is found in observation, not reaction. When betrayal strikes, it's not your job to prove your innocence or to fight for clarity. It's your task to watch, to learn, and to understand who people truly are behind the mask. Fake friends often speak softly, but their actions scream. They mirror loyalty only until it no longer benefits them, and when your light begins to outshine their shadow, That's when the truth surfaces. Jung's words echo through the soul. An open enemy wounds the body. A fake friend wounds the mind. That is why the spiritually awakened don't expose others with anger. They expose them through patience. You don't need revenge. You need only time, and time reveals all hidden motives. Those who are walking the path of spiritual awakening know that not everyone around them will celebrate their growth. Some are drawn to your light simply because it gives warmth to their coldness, but they never intend to rise with you. Jung's insight into human behavior teaches us that the unconscious mind always leaks through action. So while fake friends may disguise themselves through affection, their energy never lies. You will feel it before you see it. A subtle discomfort, an unexplained unease after speaking with them, a heaviness in your chest, all are signals from your intuition trying to warn you. The awakened soul doesn't dismiss these signs. They know energy never deceives. So, rather than confronting or accusing, you quietly test loyalty. You share a harmless piece of information, then step back and observe where it travels. A true friend will protect it with silence. A false one will trade it for attention. Through this awareness, you reclaim your emotional power, no longer controlled by manipulation, no longer blinded by illusion. To live with spiritual wisdom is to master emotional neutrality. The immature soul reacts immediately, driven by pain and ego. The evolved soul observes calmly, guided by discernment. Emotional control does not mean suppression. It means clarity. It's the sacred balance between feeling everything deeply, yet responding with composure. Jung believed that the greatest strength lies in detachment, the art of seeing without absorbing. You begin to understand that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. When people show you who they are, you no longer need to debate their intentions. You watch, accept, and distance yourself gracefully. Your silence becomes your armor, and your observation becomes your teacher. Every betrayal becomes a mirror reflecting your growth. Every disappointment becomes a spiritual test to refine your discernment, and every false friend becomes a lesson in self-respect. This is the heart of spirituality, not revenge, not bitterness, but evolution. You stop trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop seeking loyalty in those who are loyal only to their needs. You no longer beg for truth because you live in truth. Jung's chilling wisdom reminds you that the moment you stop reacting, you start reclaiming your freedom. When you detach, you begin to see clearly. When you observe, you begin to heal. And when you rise above emotional games, you awaken to the profound realization that no one can truly betray you, only reveal themselves. In that awareness lies your ultimate power. 5. Strategic distance, protection. In spirituality and spiritual growth, true protection often comes through distance. Carl Jung understood that the moment people know too much about your plans, emotions, or vulnerabilities, they gain subtle power over you. The more predictable you are, the easier it becomes for others to manipulate your choices, energy, and emotions. That's why spiritual wisdom teaches the importance of controlled access. You don't owe the world an explanation for every move you make. When you learn to keep your silence sacred, you begin to realize that mystery is not a weakness, it is your shield. The less they know, the less they can influence. You must learn to share less and observe more. Those who truly care will never demand to see what you protect. Jung's philosophy aligns with an ancient truth. Boundaries are not walls. They are energetic filters that separate what nourishes your spirit from what drains it. Distance weakens manipulation because manipulators thrive on information and proximity. When you limit what others can access your emotions, your goals, your private thoughts, you disarm their ability to play psychological games. Your power lies in the unknown, in the parts of yourself that remain beyond their reach. It's not about mistrusting everyone. It's about knowing that discernment is an act of self-love. Protecting your plans doesn't mean you're being secretive. It means you're preserving your destiny from premature exposure. Even in leadership and workplaces, this truth remains vital. Like King Louis XI, who divided influence and rotated trust so no one person ever held complete power, you must understand that dependence creates vulnerability. When one person holds too much emotional or professional leverage, imbalance forms and control begins. To grow spiritually is to distribute your trust wisely, never out of fear, but out of awareness. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's why you must consciously choose who holds emotional access to you, who hears your dreams, and who deserves your vulnerability. Those who seek to manipulate often disguise themselves as confidants. They study your weaknesses, mirror your emotions, and feed your ego until they have a hold on your energy. But once you create distance, once they can't read your every reaction or predict your next step, they lose control. Silence, unpredictability, and calm detachment become your armor. This is where spiritual growth deepens, not through constant connection, but through wise separation. It's realizing that peace is not something others give you. It's something you protect through discipline and self-respect. In your journey of spiritual awakening, learn to move with quiet strength. Speak when necessary, act with intention, and allow distance to reveal who truly values you. Those who are aligned with your energy will never fear your silence. They will respect it. And those who demand constant access only fear losing their influence. The more you grow, the more sacred your solitude becomes, because that is where your energy resets and your clarity returns. To live with spiritual wisdom is to understand that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, not to abandon, but to protect your peace, your focus, and your soul's purpose. When you start setting firm boundaries, you're not losing people, you're protecting your peace. Comment, "I protect my energy," below to affirm your spiritual strength and alignment. 6. Prevention is power. Prevention is power. And when it comes to protecting your peace, hesitation can be your downfall. You must never wait for betrayal to fully unfold, because once deceit begins to show, it's already too late. When something in your spirit feels off, trust it. That's not paranoia. It's spiritual wisdom whispering that your energy is being misused. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." And that truth runs deep when it comes to friendships. When someone starts to disturb your inner balance, it's not about being cold or suspicious. It's about listening to your higher self. Acting quickly and silently is not cruelty. It's protection. Fake friends feed on your hesitation, on your need to explain, to fix, to give them another chance. But true awakening means realizing that peace never asks you to shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. When deceit is suspected, do not confront, argue, or demand an apology. Simply withdraw your energy, cut their access to you, and move in silence. Your peace does not need an announcement. As the saying goes, a wise man does at once what the fool does at last. To act fast is to honor your intuition. Carl Jung taught that the human shadow hides in smiles, small compliments, and quiet envy. Not everyone who stands beside you wishes you well. Some admire you only because they want to study you, to mimic your light, to absorb your strength until you no longer serve their purpose. And when they feel your growth threatens their illusion of control, they turn against you subtly through words, energy, and distance. But you must not lower yourself to meet their level. Observe, detach, protect. This is how spiritually awakened souls survive in a world where betrayal often wears a friendly face. Prevention means mastering perception. It's the ability to see through charm, to sense misalignment long before harm reaches you. It's the wisdom of feeling energy rather than believing appearances. Spiritual wisdom teaches that discernment is not judgment. It is clarity. It's understanding that not everyone can walk with you on your journey of awakening. Carl Jung reminded us that relationships mirror what is within us, and that sometimes the unease you feel around someone is your subconscious recognizing danger before your mind does. So when your spirit grows heavy around a person, listen. Don't explain it away. Don't call it overthinking. Protect your energy as sacred ground. The moment you release those who secretly root against you, you open space for those who genuinely celebrate your evolution. Prevention is not fear. It is maturity. It's choosing alignment over attachment, truth over illusion, clarity over chaos. Love without respect is manipulation. Kindness without discernment is self-betrayal. And as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Don't call betrayal fate. Call it awareness. Protecting your peace before the wound is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you act with clarity, your silence becomes your sword. Your distance becomes your strength, and your peace becomes your power. 7. The power of secrecy and silence. Carl Jung understood the hidden strength behind silence, the kind that does not demand attention, but commands it effortlessly. In spirituality and spiritual awakening, silence is not weakness. It is control, composure, and sacred protection. When you speak less, you reveal less, and that gives you the power to direct how others perceive you. Jung guarded information as if it were a weapon, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, because he knew that mystery makes the mind restless. People crave to know more about what they cannot fully understand, and that curiosity shifts power in your favor. When you refuse to overshare, you create a psychological distance that forces others to respect your presence without needing constant explanation. Every word you speak is energy, and every secret you reveal is a piece of power you give away. Jung's insight reminds us that not everyone who listens deserves to know what moves within your mind. Some people listen only to use your truth against you, while others are drawn to your openness merely to satisfy their curiosity, not to understand your soul. In spiritual awakening, silence becomes a divine shield that preserves your inner peace from unnecessary noise. When you choose to speak only when it adds value, you're no longer reacting, you're leading. This is the art of self-mastery that Jung so often hinted at. To control perception, by controlling revelation. The less you say, the more weight your words carry. Silence also sharpens your perception. When you stop speaking to fill the air, you start listening to what's truly being said between the lines. Jung believed that human beings reveal their unconscious through their reactions, not their words. So when you stay silent, you begin to see the truth of others, their intentions, their fears, their manipulation without them realizing it. In that moment, silence turns from stillness into strategy. You're no longer participating in emotional chaos. You're observing it with clarity. That is the real mark of spiritual awakening, not in how loudly you defend your truth, but in how calmly you guard it. The greatest illusion is that silence is emptiness. In reality, silence is energy condensed. It creates curiosity, and curiosity creates power. People become unsettled when they can't read your next move, and in that uncertainty, you hold the upper hand. You don't need to fight for attention when your stillness already speaks volumes. As Jung once said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. When you keep parts of yourself hidden, you are not being deceptive, you are being wise. You are protecting the sacred space of your spirit from those who have not yet earned the right to access it. True spirituality is not about exposure, it's about elevation. Silence aligns you with your inner knowing, where intuition replaces impulse. It teaches you to observe without reacting, to understand without explaining, and to shine without announcing. This is the quiet confidence of those who walk the path of awareness. They do not seek to be understood. They seek to be at peace. And in that peace, they become unpredictable, untouchable, and profoundly powerful. 8. Turning betrayal into power. Betrayal exposes truth and hidden motives, revealing what words could not. It's not merely an act of deceit, but a spiritual initiation, forcing you to see beyond illusions and identify who truly belongs in your life. Through the lens of spirituality and spiritual growth, betrayal is never meant to destroy you. It's designed to refine you. It teaches you the sacred art of discernment, showing you where your trust was placed too loosely and where your energy was being drained by false loyalty. When someone betrays you, their mask falls off, and what remains is raw truth. As Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Betrayal brings the unconscious motives of others into light, and though it hurts, it liberates you from false attachments that were never meant to follow you into your next chapter. The first rule when betrayal strikes is to respond strategically, never emotionally. Emotions can cloud judgment and make you reactive when what you truly need is reflection. Think of Steve Jobs. After being ousted from Apple, the very company he founded, he didn't drown in anger or resentment. Instead, he redirected his energy into creation, founding Next and revitalizing Pixar, eventually returning to Apple and reclaiming his place as a visionary leader. That is the power of turning pain into purpose. He didn't just come back, he came back stronger, sharper, and spiritually grounded in his own worth. Betrayal can be the same catalyst for you. It pushes you to rebuild yourself from a higher level of consciousness, where external validation no longer defines your direction. To grow spiritually from betrayal, start by studying it without bias. Where did the cracks begin? Were there subtle signs you ignored because your heart hoped for loyalty that wasn't real. Perhaps the betrayal only exposed what was already broken, a dynamic built on convenience, not authenticity. When you analyze without bitterness, you transform victimhood into wisdom. You begin to understand that betrayal doesn't come to show you who others are. It comes to remind you who you are. You are not the version that needs everyone's approval. You are the version that stands firm in truth, even if it means standing alone for a while. From this point forward, protect your energy with higher standards. Building your relationships like sacred temples, entry requires integrity, not familiarity. Measure people not by their intensity, but by their consistency. Watch how they behave when you succeed. Notice if they celebrate your growth or subtly compete with it. Loyalty isn't loud, it's steady. Those who gossip to you will gossip about you. Those who stay neutral when you're attacked are silently aligned with those who envy you. When betrayal happens, it doesn't end your story, it edits your cast. Transforming betrayal into power means redirecting your pain toward creation, not retaliation. Instead of venting, channel that energy into purpose. Work out, write, study, build, pray, meditate, whatever restores your spiritual center. Forgiveness is not permission for re-entry. It's closure for your own peace. When you forgive, you reclaim control over your emotional landscape. As you do, you begin to realize that betrayal was not punishment. It was protection. It was God's way of removing people who couldn't breathe at the altitude you're ascending to. So take the lesson and make it sacred. Turn your reaction into reflection, your loss into leverage, your heartbreak into higher standards. Betrayal will always test your strength, but it will also reveal your destiny. Just as Steve Jobs turned exile into dominance, you too can turn disappointment into divine direction. The key is to stay calm, stay strategic, and stay rooted in your spirituality. Remember, betrayal is not the end of your story. It's the turning point where your spiritual growth begins to shape your true power. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Remember, as Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The same courage applies when recognizing who truly stands beside you and who only pretends to. Stay aware, stay authentic, and protect your peace, because not everyone who smiles with you walks with you in truth. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel, Spiritual Wisdom. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming videos filled with insights to deepen your spiritual wisdom and strengthen your journey of spiritual awakening.